Hi, welcome to Beginning Ukulele. Today we're going to be doing the exercise on page 28. So go ahead at this time, pause your tutorial, go get your music book, turn to page 28, and while you're at it, go ahead and tune up your ukulele and come on back. We'll be starting in about a second. Okay, so you got your music book, you're on page 28, okay, and your ukulele is hopefully in tune. You tuned it up with your tuner. Okay, so you just recently learned these chords, E7, A7, and B7. They are your newest chords. At this point in time, you should be at least a little familiar with them. Not perfect, but a little familiar with them. Okay, so in this exercise, we're going to be utilizing these chords along with along with other chords to help you get more comfortable with these chords. Okay, now what you want to do is you got your music book, turn to page 27. Turn to page 27. On page 27, you're going to see the pictorial diagram of the chords that's listed. You got A7, you got E7, and you got B7. Now, at this time, you should be able to make the chord. Maybe you're a little slow, but you should be able to make the chord. Keep in mind you have several resources. You have the chords written on the board, you got the chords in your book, and you have your chords on your chord charts. Now, if you don't have it on your binder, you should at least have it somewhere nearby. Okay, because something like this where there's multiple chords that are starting to get a little more interesting and maybe challenging for some folks, you want the resource of having all those chords in one location so you can look them up, spot them at just one glance. Okay, so at this point, if there's any chords that you see in these two lines right here, okay, in these two lines, you want to pause the tutorial and refresh your memory. Okay, now if any of these chords are difficult for you to make, you need to go back to the previous tutorials that introduces the chords, does the chord count exercise, and more importantly, teaches you techniques on how to make the chord faster, how to learn the chord faster. If you're doing these techniques, this shouldn't be that hard, okay? If it is, fine. Go back to the tutorial, kind of learn it again, refresh your memory, whatever it takes, then come on back. If you don't, if this is a little difficult and you continue on from here, you're going to find these chord changes a little challenging and you might not be able to keep up. Okay, with that being said, we're going to move on. Okay, so on this exercise on page 28. So we're on page 28 in your music book, page 28. You see on the top half, we have two lines of music. One is in 3/4, one is in 4/4. So this is the 4/4 line that's on the top half. Then on the bottom half, where it says more fun with the G, with chords in G, this is the 4/4 line in the bottom half. Once again, this is the 4/4 line, or the second line in the top half of that page. The next line below it is the very last line on that page, okay? So we're going to be doing these two to start off. Keep in mind, we're going to be doing all 4 lines, so you need your music book handy. Also, if you notice, I didn't have enough room to write the rest for that last measure of all the lines of music. So I'm just reminding you that there are rests, the squiggly line, there are rests in the last measures of all the lines of music. So you need to make a notation, like in other words, highlight the rest to remind you that they're coming up. And once again, the rest means not to play. So when we come to the rest, we don't play on the rest, okay? So let's check our tuning before we start. G, C, E, A. Please make sure that your ukulele is in tune before we start. If not, you need to tune it up with your tuner and then come on back. Okay. So let's just review really quickly. The E chord. We're just review E, first finger on the top, first fret, second finger on the second fret, third string, and finally the third finger on the bottom string, second fret. That's the E chord. And then go ahead and do like a chord cog exercise really quickly for the E chord. Pause the tutorial and do your chord cog exercise real quickly. Then we'll move on. Okay, next chord, A7. A7, real easy, one finger, first fret, third string. Real easy, that's an A7. Real easy. If need be, please do a chord cog exercise. And make sure that you can switch between the other chords. For example, from E7 to A7, E7 to A7, and etc. Next chord, the B7, might be a little difficult because it's kind of out there all by itself. Second fret, second string, first finger, one up, B7 chord. Now keep in mind, in the previous tutorial, I teach a lesson and techniques on how to make this chord, how to learn it faster, how to make it faster. If it's uncomfortable or not that familiar to you, you need to go back to the tutorial, learn the technique so you can make the B7 chord quicker. Okay, do a quick chord cog exercise. Okay, and maybe try and going to A7 chord from here. And this is a little challenging, but let's see if you can go back to the B7 from an A7. Okay. Pause the tutorial if you need to try that. Okay, let's look at the board one more time. We're gonna do this top line right here. Keep in mind in the book, if you're looking at the book, and you should be looking at the book, it's the second line from the top. Second line from the top. Don't forget, highlight your rests in the very last measure. Do not play on the rests. We're playing the second line in 4/4 time. So try to match it up. Second line in 4/4 time, starting with the C chord. Okay. Now let's do a combination. We're going to preview the music and do a chord cog exercise for that line. It's the second line from the top in your music book. Here we go. So we're just looking at the music. Once again, I'm looking at the music. I'm not looking at my left hand. If you do look at your left hand, please keep it to just a glance to get your fingering. Just a glance. Don't hang out staring at your left hand to make the chord. If you gotta stare at your left hand, you don't have the chord down yet. Okay, you need to practice the chord. You need to do the techniques taught previously in the previous tutorials. Then come on back to this lesson. Okay, here we go. Here we go. C is the first chord. All we're doing is just making a chord and going previewing the music. Next chord is E7. Now, here's a shortcut from the C. Just slide it down one fret. You can put the first finger up next and then the second finger. E7. Next chord is A7. Very easy. Drop that first finger. Lift everybody off. Next chord is a D7. First finger, second fret, all the strings, second finger comes down. Okay. Next chord is a G7. Okay, that's one of the first chords we learned. Should be easy by now. And ending with a C. Just slide it into a C. And don't forget the rest. In that measure, do not play on the rest. Okay. If you need to rewind this section up, try that previewing of that line again. And then we'll go on. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you did your previewing and you're ready to go and you're reasonably comfortable. Once again, second line from the top, 4/4 time, starting with the C. Here's a 4 count, not too fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. E7, 1, 2, 3, 4, A7, 1, 2, 3, 4, D7, 1, 2, 3, 4, G7, 1, 2, 3, 4, C, rest, C, rest, good. Okay, we're going to try it one more time, same speed, okay, don't forget, don't play on the rest. Okay, starting with the C, 4 count, here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, E7, 1, 2, 3, 4, A7, 1, 2, 3, 4, D7, 1, 2, 3, 4, G7, 1, 2, 3, 4, C, rest, good. Okay, now we're going to move on down to the very last line of that page. This is the very last line of that page. 4/4 time, starting with a G. Don't forget on the last measure, I didn't have room to write down the rest, but there's a rest there, so if you need to highlight that rest with your highlighter so that it reminds you not to play on the rest. Okay, so we're going to do a quick chord calc exercise for that last line. Here we go. Starting with the G, making sure that you can do it. So you're on the G chord, you got that G chord going. Now if you're having a problem with your G, you need to pause the tutorial, look at your chord charts or your music book to make that G, then come on back. Next chord, B7, got that first finger down there, then one up. Next chord, E7. Next chord, A7. Next chord, D7. And last chord is a G. Okay, so if you had a little problem with some of those chord changes, pause the tutorial, work those problem spots out, get those chord changes relatively smooth. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you should at least be able to keep time with the music. Okay? And once again, whatever you do, once we start, you don't stop. Make sure you're always tapping your foot, keeping that internal metronome going, tapping your foot. Okay, so I'm assuming that you did your previewing and the chord calc practice with any difficult changes, and we shall get started. This is the very last line on page 28, 4/4 time, starting with the G. Here we go. 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. B7, 1, 2, 3. E7, 1, 2, 3. A7, 1, 2, 3, 4. D7, 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, rest. Okay, how was that? Well, we're going to try it one more time. If that was difficult, pause the tutorial, try it again, work out those rough spots, because if you're messing up right now, you're not going to be able to do it when we do it again. So pause the tutorial, work out those rough spots, then we'll move on in about a second. Okay, once again, last line on page 28, starting with the G. Just a little bit slower, not much. Here we go. 4 count. Oh. 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. B7, 1, 2, 3, 4. E7, 1, 2, 3, 4. A7, 1, 2, 3, 4. D7, 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 1, 2, 3, and rest. Okay, good. Okay, and if need be, we've done 2 lines so far on page 28. If you need to work it out, you need to pause the tutorial and work out whatever line you did, whatever mistakes you made, work it out. Don't continue to go on if you're making mistakes, okay? If you make mistakes, it will just take you longer to unlearn them and move on. So it's better if you do it correctly, slowly, as opposed to doing it wrong and then moving on, because you basically just be learning mistakes as opposed to learning it right. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you practice whatever you needed to work on, and we're going to move on. I didn't have room to write this down, but we are going to do the first line on page 28. Page 28, we're doing the first line. It's in 3/4 time. Once again, it is not on the board. It is in your music book. Did not have room to write it down. We're playing the first line 3/4 time, starting with a C, ending with a C. You got to measure. You got to rest in your last measure. Highlight it to remind you that you got to stop on the rest. No playing on the rest. Please do a quick chord calc exercise. Take about a minute or two. Do a chord calc exercise as you preview the music. And then we'll start in about a second. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you did your chord calc exercise, previewed the music, you worked out any chord changes that you thought may be difficult. It's the very first line, page 28, in 3/4 time, starting with a C, ending with a C. Don't forget the rest of the last measure. Here we go. 3 count. This is in 3/4 time, so it's a 3 count. 1, 2, 3. C, 2, 3. E7, 2, 3. A7, 1, 2, 3. D7, 1, 2, 3. G7, 1, 2, 3. C, 1, 2. Rest. We're going to try one more time, okay? If you need to pause the guitar, work out the little mistakes, pause it now. We'll move on in about a second. Okay, here we go. One more time, same speed, starting with the C. 1, 2, 3. C, 2, 3. E7, 1, 2, 3. A7, 1, 2, 3. D7, 1, 2, 3. G7, 2, 3. C, 1. And rest. Good. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the third line in the book on page 28. Okay, third line, it's in 3/4 time. First chord is a G. It's not on the board, it's in your book. First chord is a G, last chord is a G. Third line, 3/4 time. The chords are G, B7, E7, A7, D7, ending with a G. Don't forget to highlight the rest in the last measure. Do not play on the rest. Here we go. This is the third line on the page, starting with a G. 3/4 time. I'll give a 3 count. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. B7, 2. E7, 1, 2, 3. A7, 1, 2, 3. G7, 2, and G, 1, 2, and rest. Okay. Any problems there? Please pause the tutorial, work out those problem spots, then come on back when you're ready. We're going to do it one more time. Okay, I'm assuming that you worked out your problem spots. We're going to do it one more time. Third line on the page, page 28, 3/4 time. First chord's a G, ending with a G. Don't forget the rest in the last measure. Here we go. 3/4 time. Here's a 3 count. 1, 2, 3. G, 2, 3. B7, 1, 2, 3. E7, 1, 2, 3. A7, 1. D7, 1, 2, 3, G, 1, 2, and rest. Okay, so now the goal is to do all 4 lines relatively smoothly and comfortably for you. Back up the tutorial, try it again. I know some of these chords are a little challenging. You learned them, so This may be a tutorial that you may have to play several times, but it's worth the investment so that you can move on. And we're getting into much more challenging and interesting chords, and they sound very interesting when you put it with other chords in pieces of music. Okay, so once again, get comfortable and get relatively smooth, get relatively comfortable. Don't have to be perfect, but you gotta at least get through the song more or less. And don't forget, once you start a song or an exercise, don't stop till you get to the end. Okay, so when you're ready for the next lesson, we shall see you there.